Hey guys, welcome to my first weekly plan with me in my A5 Stalogy. On top are just some of the materials that I was using for this plan with me. And I'm taking a quick peek at my grid spacing, and here's a quick flip of last week. It wasn't completely filled out. Honestly, I was on vacation towards the end of the week and I got a little bit lazy. I typically start on the left hand side, and I always start with my health and fitness page. I just like to write down what I eat every day and what I did at the gym. I find it easier to make sure I switch up my exercises if I write them down. And so based on my grid spacing, I just do 7 down, and the last one will be only 6, which is fine. It's more than enough space since the pages of an A5 are so big. And this is a ruler from JetPens. I like it because it folds out like that. I think it's the coolest thing ever. You can still get it if you go onto JetPens. I think they have free shipping over $35 right now, which honestly is perfect because by the time you end up getting to $35, you could have got a lot of good stuff. And for some reason, this Stabilo pen wasn't working as well. I ended up switching how I store them. They're stored slightly elevated up, and so I just switched it around so that the ink would be flowing towards the nib, and I think that's gonna help. And so I'm just gonna go down and try to make sure that I'm lining them up correctly. Next time I'll probably just do dots on both sides just to make it easier when I'm using my roller. And I end up not even being happy with it. So I end up going over it with a Mildliner. And first I check the grid spacing because I like to do 2/3 for the food section and only 1/3 for the fitness section. And like I said, it ends up being just enough space. Just because the book itself is so big that once I write out what I did, it's perfectly fine. I don't write the weight I did just because I don't bring it with me to the gym, and so by the time I would remember what I did, I have no idea what the weight was. But typically when I'm at the gym, I will try to push myself when I feel like that weight is getting too easy anyway. And so I'm going over with a green Mildliner. I'm just using the regular Mildliner, and I'm using the pointy end. And the lines aren't straight, but at that point I don't like to use the ruler with those types of tips just because if it smudges on it, you have to wipe it off in between each use. And now I'm trying to do some lettering. I'm trying to practice that and get better at it. Those are the Kelly Creates, and they're flex tip, and what I like about them is they're hard, and so there's no accidental pressure being done because you have to press down pretty hard to get it to go in the first place. Unlike Tombows, people who letter with those are geniuses. The slightest pressure and you could just change everything. So those are Beyond the Dot Designs stickers that I'll be using this week. Her pastel crystals. I will link her down below. I love her shop. I think I have most of her sticker sets. And so I am using the numbers right now. And I'm just putting them down with a tweezer. And first I'm actually putting them on the back of my hand just to make it less sticky. I've seen a lot of YouTubers do that, and it really does help because I swear if you don't, the second it even comes into static contact with it, it will start to stick. So if you go ahead and put it on the back of your hand real quick where you don't have too much oil, it will make it easier to get the position just right. And this is my first time filming on my iPad. I just got a tripod that will work for my iPad, but it can't quite get everything in frame, so I'm sorry about that. next time I'm going to try a little bit of a different setup to see if it will make it easier. But this is actually the only month I'll be in my A5. Well, I won't say the only month, probably just the only month for a while, because I'm actually in a B6 Stalogy, but I want to use an A5 for a while for One Book July because I do have some covers in A5 that I really wanted to use. And so I'm just going to put those back up. And now I'm going into my sticker album, which is ironically by the same person, Beyond the Dots Design, and that's on her shop too. And so I'm going to be using these for deco and functional stickers. And typically what I like to do is put the deco down first, just because it makes it easier. And I'm trying to get that as straight as possible where I want it. I did run it on the back of my hand first. And I end up going for another deco piece that I can actually write inside of to put a quote, which I'll later look up a quote on Pinterest and add it. And I try to do everything, I guess, bouncing left to right and back and forth. And those are the heart numbers from Simply Gilded. I have the subscription box. And so typically what I like to do is use one numbering for the meal tracker, as long as I have one, and then use Simply Gilded for my dailies. And so I'm gonna go ahead and put those down. I do still put those on the back of my hand. They are a little harder to get off of the sticker sheet, but I like it that way. If there's one thing I hate, it's when you are taking off one number and like 5 more accidentally come off and you don't even realize it. Next thing you know, you're missing a number. And so I just lettered in Monday, and I think I take another peek at my grid spacing because I'm going to end up doing 1/3 to get 3 days on a page. That's typically, I could do more or less, seeing as I work a 9-to-5 job, so most of my day is there. And when I come home, I usually just try to do little stuff here and there to put me ahead for the weekend. And so I just will make those lines. I'm checking to see if that marker writes better on a flatter surface because the left hand side does have more bumps in it, which is typical when you use a lot of stickers. And that's why a lot of people use a pencil board, but with me trying to get used to doing everything on camera and trying to get as much as I can in frame, I just thought it would be better to wait to use the pencil board. And so, like I said, I usually bounce. So on that side, I'm putting in Tuesday, and I decided to switch green colors. And that's normally what's taking so long, is trying to roll those numbers off. Which, like I said, I don't mind, because I would prefer them to stick on the page as much as possible. Just because sometimes I do a whole week at a time, and sometimes I don't. And so I don't want anything to get lost in the mix. And now I am trying to decide what functional stickers I'm going to put down. And that's what is in the pastel crystal set. And so I end up putting out that I have a bill due, because I know I have one due. And so I want that front and center to make sure that I pay, because you know how bills go. There's always a time you have to get it paid by. And I'd rather just do it as soon as I wake up. And so I'm going to put down a to-do sticker, and I put that down just because I'm filming on Monday, and so I already have a bunch of stuff that I've done that I know I'm just gonna go and fill in after the fact. And then I put down a to pay one. Oh no, that's the today. And Wednesday I typically try to take it a little easier, so I'll try to do little stuff like sweeping or mopping or something little. I'm just gonna go ahead and bind that corner. There's one thing that sucks is when the page moves when you're trying to put lines down. And I love those clips. They're rose gold. I think I got them off of Amazon. It was a pretty good set and it wasn't expensive. And so one thing I do love about Stalogy paper, it's not Tomo river paper, but I actually prefer it not to be. There's a special coating on that paper and it makes ink take longer to dry. And so I've noticed some pens, obviously take longer to dry, but some I think never really fully dry. Like if you were to touch it and run your finger over it, the little bit of oil in your finger will actually cause it to smear even though it's been dry for a couple of days. So I actually prefer Stalogy paper, and it made it easier to go ahead and do the third lines just because I can see where it was on the other side of the page and it's literally the same line. And I'm putting down my date dots. Typically whenever I do like the top portion, I'll just try to cover up as much as I can of the little pre-printed month, day of the week that's up top, just because I don't need it. I'm never going to use it. It doesn't bother me. And ironically, if you use certain materials, you will see it clearer. Like some highlighters just go over it, but some highlighters actually make it easier to see what that writing is. It's the weirdest thing. Like the Mildliner doesn't do that, but I think Crayolas might have that sort of effect. And so I'm just trying to letter in the days of the week. And I thought about it after the fact that I probably should have done 2, because Saturday and Sunday are typically when I go in because I'm off on weekends. But I thought about it and I was like, it's fine because I like to give myself more freedom on weekends. And so I won't necessarily say this has to be done this day unless it's, something that does like a bill, or I have to vacuum that day because I can't vacuum Sunday for some reason. Like unless it's something like that. But otherwise I like to just have a list of things I want to get done for the weekend, and then I'll go ahead and decide, what day to do what based on my energy. I typically find that, I'm doing laundry. That's my laundry days is Saturday I live with a roommate. And so I find that since I'm already in the house doing laundry, that's typically when I'll, have enough energy to go ahead and do some other house chores. And then Sunday, I usually take it a little bit easier and focus on meal planning and prepping and groceries. And so I go ahead and decide to put down another box that I'll later fill in with a quote that I find off of Pinterest. I typically just, when I'm bored or I need like a minute to not really do anything, I'll get on Pinterest and we'll just, search daily inspirational quotes, women empowerment quotes, stuff like that, and I'll save it on a board. And so when I'm planning, I'll just visit that board after the fact and fill in a quote. And so I'm going in and putting more stickers. Friday is another day I typically take things a little slower just because, I mean, it's the end of the week of working 40 plus hours. So I like to give myself a little break. But I still like to do little stuff. Typically, I'll make sure, I washed everything in my lunchbox, or, I put all the dishes away. Just something little. And I'm putting down this washi. And I love how it almost takes up the entire top page, but not quite, which is kind of something that I would prefer, just so that it would be easier for me to put like the date and the weekday down. And you'll see how I end up doing, and I like the way it came out. And I'll try to do a little downward lettering. And like I said, I think it came out okay. I liked it. And I like the way it just looks like a header. And then what I end up doing is splitting this page in half. Because like I said, there's certain things I do on the weekdays. Like I said, Saturday is laundry day. And Sunday is typically when I will make myself go to the grocery store and meal plan and prep. Because it's just easier if you make your boiled eggs on Sunday. Make your boiled eggs on Sunday. They'll be okay for the entire week. Versus, I don't know, if I make it on Saturday, it doesn't make any sense to me because I'm not going to eat a boiled egg on a Sunday. Typically, if I'm home and I'm not working, I will cook myself, bacon, eggs, and pancakes. I'm not going to eat a boiled egg. And so I'm just going to make that lower section something that I will put in the task that I want to get done for the weekend, that I don't have any date specific thing going on. And I'll also make a little section for next week, just because there's some stuff that you probably do too, like I don't need to put in necessarily right now. Like I know next week I have to do my recertification for my school loans based on like the income repayment. You have to like recertify for it, and I got an email that said when the due date was, and so I know I have to do that next week. And it's something that's on my rolling weekly, but I haven't necessarily given a date. But now that I'm thinking about it and doing it, I'll remember, oh yeah, put that on for next week, because you have to do that next week. And so on the other side is where I'll just put little important stuff, and I do a little hand lettering, because like I said, working 5 days a week, I just end up doing most of what needs to get done on the weekend. And so it always feels like a weekend hustle, trying to get done as much as I can, and still have me time and hang out with my mom and my dad, and go see my cousin, take my dog out somewhere, even though not in this heat, Jesus. Hang out with my friend who's also my roommate, who's also my coworker. Just trying to make sure that I can get some balance in for the weekend, as well as be productive. And so I just go in and put, another sticker. And this last one I think that I'm trying to put on is a little stuck to the paper, but that is okay. And I thought for Sunday I'll go ahead and give myself like a little section to write down the task one by one. And that is all I have so far. A quick little flip. And thanks so much for watching, guys. Please like and subscribe, and I will see you again next week. Bye bye.